Hey, hey, how's it going, guys? Good Sunday evening. How's everybody's Sunday? Looks like we're having a camera not showing. Might help to actually unhide that. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Build Marathon stream today, Sunday afternoon. We're going to be building a couple of builds, at least, or as many as I can do until I've lost my mind. How many builds do you think I'll be able to do? Two, three. We'll give ourselves like 1 3/4. So I've got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure here to do. Might be able to squeeze in a fifth. The rest are still waiting on some parts. So we could do 5 builds. That would be awesome. But I know I'm probably not going to be able to do all 5 today. Probably going to be 2 or 3. That's my guesstimate of what I'll be able to handle. I've been building like crazy this week. We've had tons of builds, which is great. Just some late nights trying to keep up with everything, which is good. It's okay. I'll take it. Anyway, we've got probably about 5 builds we could do. We'll see how many we get through. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the first one. Our first build is for Aaron. Mr. Aaron, who is actually a local customer of ours, purchased what we see here right now, which is an Intel i5 10th generation. So this is a 10th gen i5. We're going to be slapping that on a B560M. This is an Asus TUF gaming motherboard. It's the Plus Wi-Fi edition if you want specifically the model. We've also got an ID Cooling SE214 XT, which is an addressable RGB cooler, power air cooler, with 4 heat pipes, and of course a 120mm fan on it. It's got the black theme, so it'll match the rest of the components in the build. We're going to be using 16 gigs of Silicon Power's Zenith RGB gaming RAM. And this is 3200 megahertz CL16, so it's got some really good timings on it. It's got the addressable RGB. The black is also going to match the theme. The SSD, we went with an Inland QN322, or 322. Not sure why that number is so long, and there's really no rhyme or reason why there's that number. A lot of SSD companies or manufacturers, it means usually the size, physical size of the length of the drive, and then has something else to do with the actual speed and whatnot. This one, it just makes no sense. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, it's a 1 terabyte M.2 drive. It's a great drive. It's a very good drive for your typical budget build, because it's got some pretty good read-write speeds, and it's also got the storage that you want, especially with today's games and titles. So a terabyte for the price that we got it for is pretty good. Really good SSD. I've used these several times. They're great. I love them. All right, and so the graphics card, we're going to be running the AMD Radeon RX 6600. This is an 8GB card. It's PCI 4.0 compatible, so if we get to 11th gen CPU on this motherboard, you'd be able to run this even in PCI 4.0, but we had to try to get as much as we could balanced in the build, so we're going with the 10th gen on the 11th or 500 series motherboard. But this is mostly a 1080p card. Great card. It's going to run pretty much any game he throws at it, and he'll be pretty satisfied with the FPS. Power, we're going with a 650 watt bronze 80 plus. This is a semi-modular power supply, not Pi, by RS Game. And we've also got some cables that we'll be using to give it some nice aesthetics. So we got black and white cables here in the box. that we'll be using. And the case that we're building in is the Montech Air 100. So this is your standard micro ATX modern looking case with the power supply basement. The addressable RGB fans are actually included with this case, so that's a really good benefit, especially for the price you can get these for. It's got a front mesh, so it's got really good airflow, allowing lots of fresh air into the system. And it also can mount a 240mm AIO to the top of the case with today's hardware. So it is a very modern micro ATX case. The glass is also a door, so it's hinged, which is really nice. It's a nice little piece to it. So it's got quality. It's a great case, especially for trying to keep the budget down around those things and trying to focus more on the core performance of the system. Great case to go with. Highly recommend it. I got swords. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Over on the YouTube. Not Griddles. You're saying I'm going to be able to do 1 3/4. Definitely. I think I could do 2. I think I could do 2. We can make some bets. We got a total of what? We'll say we'll go until... We'll give ourselves till like, what, 9 p.m.? That's like 3 hours, 3 hours, 12 minutes. To be exact, 9 p.m. Eastern time. That'll give us 3 hours. How many builds do you think I'll be able to do that? Clock will stop at 9 p.m. I'll move some of this out of the way, and we're just going to go ahead and jump into it, as if we're going by the clock. I'm going to switch to the top-down. Switch to the top-down view. Don't strain yourself getting an extra 1/4 done. Well, I think when I got a 3/4, 3/4 of the PC done, the last quarter is honestly just going to be table management at that point. So I think we'll be okay. So I guess what's the rules here? Are we considering, Damon, hey, me and my son are back on watching again. Wanted to clean his room before we send you pictures. Oh, no worries, man. Before we send you pictures of the setup of his PC he did for him. Oh, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I'd love to see those pics. So send it over. Just want to see the setup. See how that battle station looks. Keep it clean. Alright, so we're going to slap this i5 in here. Get rid of this stock cooler. We're not going to be using that. Peel some stickers off. Or some peels. We'll peel the peels. We have peels everywhere. Lots of peels. Actually, for this one, we're going to put the drive down here because we have a Gen 4 slot right here. And I want to leave that open if he's ever to add a Gen 4 M.2. So if he does add an M.2 later, and it's Gen 4, he has that slot. And also when if he ever adds a 11th Gen CPU, get that Gen 4. Yep. SSD installed, CPU installed. Let's get the RAM. How many are we building tonight, Ben? We've got quite a few. So far, my target, my goal primarily is to get through 2 builds. But if it was all possible, I doubt it. I'd like to get through 5 builds. I think I'm gonna be able to only muster 2 live on the stream here tonight. Maybe 3. Maybe we'll do 3. Let's see. We'll see how quick I could get through the first 2. Without sacrificing any quality, right? There we go. 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 installed, and now we're going to move on to the cooler. That's a lot of bills, man. Business is booming. Right now, it seems like everybody's got a little bit extra cash on hand from taxes, I'm assuming. So there's been a lot of extra build requests lately, which is good. Definitely not complaining about it at all. So it got busy, and that's kind of the nature of the business. Is it just 1 minute you could have no builds, and then the next, like, you kind of blink and look away for a minute, and then you come back and all of a sudden you have like 15 to do, and it's like, where did that come from? I don't know. It happens. So it's up and down all the time. Up and down all the time. I need a pic of me holding Mern's GPU box now. Oh yeah, you gotta come here and get that. Do I even have his box here? That one might have gotten thrown out. Not intentionally. I think it may have gotten crushed and then recycled already. Let me go look. If I have it, it's sitting over in the stack of trophies. Aha, I do have it. I still have it. Damon, since he's been home from school with the snow days and everything, he is on it constantly. He loves it. Oh, that's great. That's awesome to hear, man. Box as big as Mern. Yeah. Oh, jeez. You're not wrong. I'm not going to say anything there. I'm going to leave that wide open for you guys to handle. Not getting involved. Yes. trying to just figure out the standoff for this cooler. They don't, they used to label these, and now they don't. But they give you a little baggie with a bunch of standoffs and screws. And it's like, okay, which one's LGA 1700, which one's LGA 1200, and which one is AMD? They don't really have a sticker on the bags anymore. You gotta look at the instructions, just jog your memory. Which standoff is correct? Because they are different sizes. Different heights. It's very important not to put the wrong height on there, or the CPU won't have the right amount of pressure, or it'll have too much. Then you'll have a problem. It's kind of important not to screw that up. Who's popping my bubbles? Got my little miss behind me. Be gone, bot, go! Oh dear. Scott, did I make you a mod yet? I feel like I should do that. These bots seem to be more and more popular these days. No. I'll fix that after this stream, or if you just give me a minute, I'll go fix that. But if I take 5 minutes, that means that the 5 minutes does not go against the clock. You add 5 minutes to the end time. This is our Thermal Grizzly thermal paste that we're using. Some of the best stuff you can use. Can't really get much better than that. I would be honored to be one. I think you have a good sense of judgment, so if I gave you the power, I feel like you do a very good job. Recent full cherry. Okay. I'm assuming that's the bot that we were talking about. Alright, so there we go. We got our cooler mounted very nicely. Got our DDR4 3200 MHz 16 GB RAM, 2 8 gig sticks, and our 1 TB M.2 with our i5 underneath the cooler here. One of the last things we got to do is plug our PWM CPU fan connection in. and then our addressable RGB. And we'll pull that through the back of the case and zip tie it up once we get it mounted. Probably put a zip tie like right here. Clean it up. I'm gonna chuck this over here and then go see if we can make I Got Swords a mod. 1 second. Actually, here. Here you can stare at the pretty. Eh. Why you no focus? Focus, you stupid camera. This has been an ongoing problem, guys, so if anybody has any, like, recommendations on how to get your cameras to focus, stare at the pretty for a minute. The autofocus, by the way, is on. Doesn't look like it did anything. Alright. So I Got Swords, you should now be a moderator. Go back to the top-down view. Since that camera is not focusing, I'll have to reprimand it later. MIDI. Oh. Now we'll build or get the case out. Slap this bad boy in the case. Oh, look at that! You got a green thing. Icon. This is a Tough Gaming Micro ATX motherboard. It's the B560M. Probably one of the best in its price point. Has the Wi-Fi 6 built into it. It's got Bluetooth, I think 5.1. And it also has support for USB-C on it. which is really hard to find on a B560 motherboard, by the way, in this price point. Nailed it. LOL. Yes, sir. I've got the power. I got Swords over there jumping up and down with joy, probably. Like, now I have the power. All right, the Quack and Duck needs to go. Max, get that Quack and Duck elsewhere. You're in the Quack and Duck. All right. Getting loud over here. I noticed I have to add a couple of standoffs here. This is a wider micro ATX motherboard. It's got the full ATX width, just the micro ATX length. The girth does matter here. Girth makes a difference today. No, but I'm home. Honored you would choose to have me as a mod, man. Of course, man. Helping me out more so than anything. Especially if I'm gonna get through these builds, you know, I need somebody to push buttons for me. All right. I think we're making some progress on the first build, right? Got the motherboard mounted. Case fans are already in the case, so that saved me some time. I knew I should have zip tied that before I put it in the case. Okay. I'll finagle it like I always do. Put my fat fingers in weird places my lifetime. This is a great looking micro ATX case. I mean, I just love its style. Also, the front panel comes off so nice and easy to clean it. This is your dust filter. They do have dust filters that come with it that you can add. But normally I don't recommend putting them on there because it'll restrict more airflow. So really the only time you use those is when it's really in a really dusty environment. And in most cases, really nowhere more dusty than here because we live on a dirt road. So it's dusty here in the summer, especially if you got the windows open. We don't do that very often. Dirt road, dust. It's bad. But if you're in a dusty environment like me, or you're next to a dirt road, dust travels right into your house. then I would recommend using those dust filters. That way it stays cleaner. We got that zip tied, so it's all cleaned up. We don't have to worry about that later. All right, so I guess we're pretty much ready to do some of the front panel connections, and then we'll do some graphics card mounting and power supply cables and power supply, and we're done. How about that? That was easy. We're about 33 minutes in. That leaves us 2 hours for the second build, at least. Not too shabby. Although we would like to get through more than 2, if at all possible. This on the left or the right? Ah. I'm just feeding these connections through the respected holes. So I can flip this around and plug them all in. I've done a few of these builds, so I know pretty much where everything is, for the most part. Pretty sure there's a PW fan connection over here, bottom. This board is probably got to be the best micro ATX board in this lineup, 560s. I don't think there is a better board to work with in the same price point. I love this board, but she left her. It's over. She's over here, right there, and he's right there. Find her. All right. I'm plugging some case fans in. Those plugged in and fired up. Then we have our HD audio over here in the bottom left corner. Can't really plug that in the wrong way. It can only be plugged in one way. It's got a notch in it. And then we also have an addressable RGB connection for the case fans. We're going to plug that in down here, which actually connects to a hub. And I believe there's a couple more options on there, so we can add more back at that point, which is kind of cool. Reduces the amount of connections coming up to the front of the board with the hub in the back, which is included with the case. Kind of cool. Another value point for this case. And then we have our USB 2.0 option here at the very bottom, right next to our addressable RGB connection. Again, you can really only plug that in one way. It's notched. And then we have our front panel connections. This is where I wish case manufacturers would get a little bit more, what's the right term? A little more creative. Leon Lee started doing these, but they started making the connections all the same. Yo, yo! This one's going to be quick, I think. I can do 3 builds. Or you think I can do 3 builds? Okay. Alright, yeah, I can do it. I like the, what do you call it? Optimistic. I like how optimistic you are about my abilities. Although I think it's just going to be 2, realistically. The next one's got a little bit more to it for the radiator. Anytime there's a radiator, you're going to add 15 minutes for the fans, at least. There's a little bit more to it, but not too bad. It's actually our battle cruiser, but it's a beefed up version. Much beefier. Hey DX, knock knock, open up. Our FBI. The funny thing about the FBI is that I used to build computers out of my garage over that way. My neighbors used to drive by, and I used to have the big garage door open, and it looked like I was literally hacking the government or something, because I had so many computers in there running and just a whole bunch of stuff. So I did it out of my garage, Anytime I had my door open, my neighbors would drive by and be like, very slowly staring into the garage, like, what the hell is going on there? I used to just wave as they go by. It was awesome. I loved it. I always kept them wondering. They actually still don't know what I do. Most of my neighbors. The neighbors over here pretty much just come home from work and watch Netflix and never go outside, so never have a really good opportunity until somebody runs over the community mailbox to really meet anybody. Which, by the way, has happened like 4 times now. One of which being one of my customers passed our driveway and then backed up over our mailbox, which was the entire community's mailbox. It was great. This is our RX 6600 graphics card. This is a power cooler fighter edition. Really, the big difference is it doesn't have the extra back plate to it, but so it's got a bare back to it. But I mean, it's not a heavy card, so it's not really required. It's really, at that point, it's just aesthetics. That would be a sight. Oh, it was. Every time everybody drove, somebody drove by. Like, what is that guy doing? Trust me, they're just gaming computers. I used to be known as Budget Builder Ben back then when I was working in my garage. For local people that still follow me. And I swear some people came to me asking for these insanely low budget builds that were just, today you can't even do. It's just not even possible. I'm talking like $150, $200 gaming pieces to run, at the time, Warzone, or was it not Warzone? I can't remember what big title it was that just came out. It wasn't Warzone. It was one of the Call of Duties, but it wasn't Warzone. But I mean, it was crazy how low I got on some of those builds. It was even before mining was a thing, so there was a really good balance on prices of things then. I guess these. All right, so now we're ready for our cables. Let's get those out. I think we're gonna go with black cable combs. Have you done a build in the H1? I actually have not done a build in the H1. I used to be a super big NZXT fan. Super big. And then I recently, or not recently, but over probably the last like 3 years, stepped away from NZXT because they kept sticking with their same old crap, which is their cases were just solid front panels. And my opinion is they needed to move over to mesh because their temps weren't very good. They started getting worse and worse as parts got bigger and bigger, but they weren't really meeting the demand. So I just straight up stopped building with NZXT and recommending NZXT altogether. Their coolers, they're nice, but they use what I hate most, which is a USB header to connect the addressable RGB. The only time you should be doing that is if you have a screen That makes sense. But every fan you use that was from NZXT, um, like their hubs would only support 3 fans, for example. If you tried to put 6 fans plus a cooler plus something else from NZXT, you ended up needing like 8 USB ports to support all of it. It's exaggeration, but 8 USB 2.0, like 3 or 4 USB 2.0 ports. And motherboards normally only have 2, and then you got to buy a hub, and then you run into problems where the hubs don't work right, the splitters, and it's just stupid. So they needed to make their hubs bigger, and they needed more airflow from their cases, and it just took them until probably this year to figure all that out. They did finally come out with a NZXT USB hub, which is actually very nice, by the way. Very nice hub. That does exist, finally. But it took them, again, forever to come out with those things. So, that's my beef with NZXT, is they just took forever to come out with their quality. Next, my next beef with NZXT is the fact that they worked up this case, the H9 Flow, or the H9 Elite, and sold the crap, just marketed the crap out of it, as if this was going to be the next biggest thing. Literally, it is the same exact thing as a Leon Lee Evo, 011 Dynamic Evo. It's the same case, almost. The Elite is a little bit different. It's got glass on the top, whatever. Looks kind of like a rip-off of the top of a Corsair 7000 or 4000D, but I mean, all they did was rip off other people's cases at this point. Then they worked it up to be such a big deal that it's not even available anywhere. So they didn't even manufacture enough to support the demand when they released it. And it's a case, it's not a graphics card. And they're treating them like magic unicorns. Yeah, you agree with that? I never really liked their cases all that much, and the exact reason you just gave, yeah, their airflow just sucked during their H510 series, 710. Airflow just sucked. It didn't blow. It was supposed to blow air through the system, and it did not do that. So that's my take on NZXT, is they are intentionally working these magic unicorns up and then releasing them, that they're impossible to get, which means they have control of the market. And if you look online, you literally cannot find any of the flows anywhere. I have 5 of them, by the way, if anybody wants one. In white, not black. All the blacks are gone. And they're technically not here yet. They were supposed to arrive Saturday, but they ended up getting delayed because of the snowstorm we had. So they'll be here tomorrow. But I do have 5 of them, if somebody needs an NZXT H9. White. Flow. Normally I try to grab some unicorn parts. The other unicorn part right now is an EVGA CLCX 360mm AIO. Those apparently are unicorns as well. Those make more sense though, because the bigger the parts, the more cooling you want, and EVGA, that cooler is actually a really good cooler, so and EVGA is known to make limited quantities. They're not a super big manufacturer. I think as they transition out of the graphics card field, you're probably going to see better inventory on their coolers, their power supplies, motherboards and whatnot, all of that. Is this John P. custom build? No, this is actually Aaron's build. John, yours. John's build, we're actually waiting on the cooler and I think one other item that was actually supposed to arrive Saturday or Friday, or I think it was Saturday, but it got delayed because of the snowstorm, so the shipment never showed up. So we're waiting. It's a UPS truck, so UPS ground isn't gonna come back around until tomorrow. So we're just waiting on that. This is where I come to watch Ben struggle to plug something in, right? Yes. Welcome to the This is where Ben struggles to plug something in show. Also, thank you for being here. Make sure you hit the follow. Oh, thank you. I Got Swords has got it straight. Taking it away. Jeez. Give him a little bit of abilities and then... What am I here for? But yes, here we'll watch Ben try to struggle with plugging a 24-pin cable into, or try to shove it through this small hole, of course, and then struggle to plug it in. So most likely, John P's build is going to be either Monday or Tuesday evening at this point because of the shipping delays, because of the snowstorm. Thank you for Michigan dumping 1 foot of snow on us in like 3 hours. You're here to shill for Hanes under. I'm shelling for Hanes under. These are actually, I don't think they're even Hanes. I'm too cheap for Hanes. These are Amazon specials. Because, you know, I don't got time to go to the store and pick up something. I was actually supposed to get a haircut today, so I was like, you can see my hair is kind of out there right now. But I actually was late to my appointment. I got there 15 minutes late, and I was like, hey, here to get my haircut. And they're like, oh, we're closing in 15 minutes. And I'm like, can you still fit me in? And, you know, I took them pretty well. I was a little butthurt when they said no. So I was like, can't somebody just stay a couple extra minutes late? Because I was late. But that was the only reason why I couldn't get too butthurt. It was my fault. Trying to get out the door to do anything these days is impossible. Roads were really bad. Yes, they were. I was driving back from a customer on Friday. Normally it would have taken me like 30 minutes, and it was after the snow was starting to stick. And it took me like an hour and 15 minutes to get back. It was great. And it seemed to like get worse the further north I drove, because I was down south state of Michigan. The further north I went on Friday, it got worse. All right, here we go. Got beautiful cables plugged in. It's looking pretty fabulous, don't you say? Nobasco Zero. Noob sauce. It almost looks like Tabasco Zero. Like, I don't know, that's what I first read. Yes, after working in hot factories during the summer, I've come to look forward to winter. Well, that makes sense. And I've actually done a lot of IT time running cables and whatnot in the ceilings of hot factories. And I have to say, you guys have a different body because I go and do that and I'm dehydrated for like 2 weeks. So I've been there and done that, and I don't know how you guys survive. That I can agree with. You on summers and factories that don't have AC sucks. Looks great so far, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, hot summer days in a factory sucks. I agree. Try to maybe get this lined up just a little bit better. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that with the USB 3 unless we come down here with it. Eh. Knock it. Excuse me. All right. Flip this bad boy over, get this power supply in there, and move on to the next one. Ugh. Do have a little bit of cable management to do, but this one's not too bad. Well, my shop has AC, so it's not super bad, but certain areas of the shop get much hotter than others. Yeah, don't doubt it, man. Okay, what the hell is that? Don't need this box anymore. What's with the Minecraft face? I don't know, just like Steve. Okay. Wedge this bad boy in there. Power supply in. Now we just need to get some screws. Oh my gosh, it's a rear camera view. Look at that. Not the greatest of cameras over here, though. our top down and do some cable finagling. I can't use my skin as an emoji. It's an ended creeper. Oh, nice. I don't know why you can or can't. Evil little things from a mod that wouldn't mess with you unless you look at their face, and then they would teleport behind you and bomb. Boom. Oh. I don't play enough Minecraft to know that. Mostly the reason why I know Minecraft in general is because of my daughter. Looks fun, and I would love to play it, actually. Personally, I used to really be into Legos and stuff like that when I was younger. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Legos! Hey Adam, what's up? It's Adam, the guy that's been bugging you since last month. Hey, what's up, man? To me? Did I forget to do something? Wouldn't put it past me. Good song. Kind of a fan of the song. The smooth bass. All right, last connection, and then we get to flip this bad boy up, plug it in, see if it posts. I didn't check the cables on the front. What's the budget on this build? This one is, I think we're at 800 on the budget. This is a i5, Intel i5, 10400 on a B560M with 16 gigs of DDR4, 3200 megahertz, 1 terabyte M.2, an RX 6600 8GB card, a 650 watt 80 plus bronze with a Montech case and ID cooler, some nice sleeved white and black cables here. Overall, it's a really well balanced build with some good upgrade path to it, so it's definitely something we can upgrade later. But a great, well balanced system to start out with. You're going to see me kind of reach in front of here. Don't mind or pardon my reach, should I say. Get some of these cables plugged in. All right. Y'all ready for this? You need to have a post emoji. You're right. I do. What is better, Zotac GeForce 1666 gig or the one that's current in this build? The RX 6600 I think is better than the 1660. So it has a little bit more horsepower. Can dabble in 1440p, whereas the 1660 just will straight up struggle. It does not have the VRAM that the RX 6600 does. We got post? Not yet. We didn't even push the button yet. Here we go. Of course, the camera is not going to, once again, focus. I don't know what its deal is. It's just all of a sudden tonight, it just doesn't want to focus. This is me manually focusing it. Manually doing the focus. So to answer your question, Zotac in general is a decent brand. It's not a bad brand. So if you wanted to go with Zotac over, say, another brand, you'd be fine doing that. What FPS could the GeForce 1660 get with 5M? Probably around 80 to 120, depending on what your settings are. Nice job, Ben. Only 2 more to go. We do have a post. We're posted. Looks like it's just giving us the new CPU installed alert. Because there was no CPU in the board previously. I don't know why it's freaking out. They all do that. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's one off the board. We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes and 9 seconds. We're posted. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this bad boy down. Now let's get the other one going. Whereas this one, the RX 6600, can definitely push, you know, to 144 FPS easily in 1080p, and then also get you 1440p performance around like 100 FPS probably in 5M. Whoa. All right. I just need to clean up these screws and things from this build. Then we can move on to the next build. I think you guys are going to like this next build a little bit more. Got a little bit more horsepower. Talking about the next build, today we are building with the one and only Ryzen 9 7900X. It's only got 12 cores, 24 threads, boosts up to 5.6 gigahertz. No, it's not one of the 3D processors, but still a badass CPU. Then we're going to be slapping that bad boy on a ROG Strix B650EF Gaming Wi-Fi Edition. Some fancy colors to that. We're also going to be using G.Skill Flare X5 DDR5, 32 gigabytes, and the Expo kit. I believe this is a CL16, or I'm sorry, CL36. It is. Not RGB, but it's a great price for the set of RAM. And we also have a rear fan that we're going to be adding to the case here, which meshes well with the actual case that we're building with. 2 terabyte M.2 Gen 4 SSD by Crucial. It's the P3 Plus, and then a RTX 4070 Ti. This is an Asus Tough Gaming graphics card. So the 4070 Ti. We're going to be cooling this bad boy with an LS720 by Deepcool. Be mounted top in the case. And then we have our power supplies. The one and only time I'll ever use a Corsair is when EVGA is out of stock, or if it's demanded. But my EVGA 1000 watt Supernovas were out of stock within the same price point, so we ended up going with the Corsair, which is the same exact power supply pretty much, except for it's Corsair. It's 80 plus, gold certified, fully modular. It's the RMX, great power supply regardless. Just, I don't like Corsair tax. Got some power supply cables here to go with the build, and a PCIe 5.0 cable for the graphics card, because we're not going to use the one that comes with it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this build started. Let me move the paperwork around so I don't mix anybody up. Build number 2, let's go. This is our B650 by Asus. Great motherboard. Price point. This sticker says it was $300, but I think we got it at way less than that. It was not $300. Which is why we're able to build these ones, which is our battle cruiser on our website for such a great deal. Primarily because we can get the motherboard, the CPU, and the RAM combination for a ridiculous price. All brand new. Courtesy of Micro Center. We're not going to be using the LGA stock or the bracket for the AMD CPUs really anymore. I found that they really don't need them. The Intel CPUs are, for the most part, required. I am not going to be using them unless requested. AMD's is a little bit better. There we go, we got our Ryzen 9 7900X installed into the socket. Now we'll move on to the RAM. This is again our G-Skill Flare X5 DDR5 6000 megahertz Expo certified kit. This is a 2 terabyte M.2 Gen 4. We got plenty of storage on this bad boy. Right out of the gate. Can maybe install Call of Duty. Call of Duty folks probably understand that one. Pretty soon, Call of Duty is going to require a 2 terabyte drive. And that's when we should really start asking questions around why. I guess it would make sense if everything's 4K resolutions, but not. Get some of these peels peeled off. All right, so we've got our CPU, our RAM, and our SSD installed. Just in time for Retro Gamer Time. I think we should get the cooler out. I don't remember. Now, this one we could do in the case. So we're just going to get the case out and then mount the board and then do the case for the cooler after the fact. Let's get the case out and then we'll do cooler. Case that we're building in, if I didn't mention it, our battle cruiser is the Vantex G500A. Probably next to the Lian Li Landcool 216, except a little bit bigger, and can support bigger cards. My opinion, this case should get probably Case of the Year award. With a strong, close run to, or at least a very close run to the Landcool 216. And we're not talking like super aesthetics. Considering the cost associated with cases, as well as functionality, Landcool 216 is definitely going to be the winner. This one would be right next to it. Absolutely love this case. Got your fancy dancy accessories kit. You're not allowed to see, apparently. Doesn't like transparent things, apparently. Alright. Let's slap this motherboard in this case and move on to the cooler. super organized screws are super awesome. It makes this process so much faster than having to like dig through a pile of screws and find them. I've gotten pretty good at that. I can stick my fingers in a pile of screws and feel the right one out. And you should probably not put that on your resume. What are you sticking your hands in, Ben? Pile of screws? Feeling them out? No idea what you're talking about. It's cooler time. I think I cut myself on plastic. Don't need that anymore. So this cooler is going to go on the top of the case, so I'm just trying to make sure the cables are facing the correct direction. These are FC120 fans by Deep Cool, which means they're awesome. They're also modular connection or daisy chain connection. And connect these down the chain with one connection pretty much going to the motherboard. You know, one connection for the RGB, one connection for the PWM fan. We have a total of 3 120mm PWM addressable RGB fans going on this cooler. Will definitely help the system nice and cool. Well, guys, we're at about an hour and 30 minutes, so we're about halfway point. 3 hours for 2 builds. But can we do more? I think I'm really going to need to step it up here and get this one done within the next 30 minutes in order to even have a chance finishing another build. This one's a little bit more difficult because of the radiator that I'm doing right now. There's a little bit more work to it. Not difficult, it's just got a little more work to it. We have to build out the radiator. And then we have a fan to add the case, which is a little bit extra time. What I'm going to actually do is get as much as I can up here at the top done before I put this radiator in. So it's less of a pain to get these cables in before I mount this radiator. I'm thinking with my head tonight, boys. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is get a CPU or a case fan installed, get the CPU or the case fan plugged in up here, and then get our EPS connections for our CPU in. And then we'll mount the radiator. Hello there. The 3X combo. I have faith in you, Ben. I mean, if you didn't have faith in me, what then? I mean, this is a 140 millimeter Cooler Master addressable RGB fan. This is, actually I forgot the series, the Halo series. Call them the Master Fans. They're master at fans because they were Cooler Masters. Back then, Cooler Master was the shit to run. Especially those half cases. Woo! They were some badass cases. Nowadays, or at least their previous generation, this year, their cases are starting to look better. But previous generation cases from Cooler Master left much to desire. I don't know who was in charge of their cases and decided to throw away anything to do with being the best at cooling and going fully 100% aesthetics, and thought that was a good idea. But I stopped using their cases because of that. Another example of an NZXT move. Hey, let's put a front panel on there that makes absolutely zero airflow for the entire build. But it looks cool. Great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Dang it. I love fans. They are so repetitive. Like this beat. I feel like I'm at a club and somebody put something in my drink that wasn't supposed to be there. I was listening to that song. Kind of what it reminds me of. Warranty voided if removed. Well, honestly, I'm not going to waste my time on a $30 fan. So if they're broken, you're going into the trash. Being completely honest with you, fan, won't be doing that. Then I'll just post a Cooler Master letting them know that I have too many of these anyway. I don't appreciate getting QAs. There we go. Fan installed, it's plugged in. Now we just need to get our EPS connections in there. We're golden. Golden days. Won't need any of these PCIe connections. Because we're using a PCIe 5.0 cable splitter, adapter, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Good evening. How's it going? FamOps. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping in and hanging out. You know me. I'm just blabbering away as I build the PC. We're on PC number 2, actually, for the evening. So we're doing pretty good. I haven't completely lost my mind yet. So those are all things positive. I'm just kidding, by the way. I don't really... It doesn't bother me to build PCs. I actually really like building PCs. A lot. But sometimes you build too many. There's no such thing, Ben. Yes, I know. It's okay. I'll just keep telling myself that. Alright, so... getting this little bad boy in here is a little tricky sometimes, but we do it. We do it. We got it. Go. What's up? Looks good. Good as it's going to get. And we'll probably have to yank these a little bit. Push them over this way. Like so. The cooler. Talking about the cooler, let's go ahead and get that thing mounted. I think we're ready for that. Which case is this? This is the Fantex G500A. I was talking it up earlier pretty badly. It seemed like I had like a sponsor from them or something, but I don't. They're actually, this case is probably one of the top, I'd say top 3 cases for me of 2023. I am planning to do a kind of a YouTube top. This is all just my opinion at this point. Doesn't have any like data or facts behind it. It's just my opinion based on building so many damn PCs in my lifetime and working with pretty much all the cases out there. I would say, you know, I'm just gonna put together a video for YouTube and talk about all the different cases and just create like a top 10 list or something like that. Go through all of them. I think people would enjoy that. Just hearing my opinion, that's all. Very important to make sure you tell everybody it's an opinion. Have you ever used Fractal? Yes. Fractal. Yes. I always say Fractal. But yes, I've used them. I actually am very impressed with their cases. I like them a lot. It's just they're you can get more out of a case for less with people like Fantex, Keep Cool, even Leon Lee. I don't know why they think their cases need to be so much more expensive than everybody else, but that is one of the main reasons why you don't see a lot of them built here. Their pricing. Like, if I were to buy same quality case from Fractal as what we have here, number one, I would not have 3 140 millimeter fans that are PWM addressable RGB quality fans by Fantex. They're actually pretty good fans. I believe they're even fluid bearing as well to top it off, so they're long-lasting fans. We wouldn't have the fans, and it would probably be, if not the same price, a little more expensive than what we spent to get this case, which has literally everything we need in it, and it's an absolutely fantastic case. When you say less, you mean the price, yes. And also less meaning they don't put RGB fans in their cases. I know they're starting to now. Finally, they're finding out, hey, people aren't going to buy our cases if they don't have flashy in it. So now they're starting to include RGB fans in some of their cases. I do like their micro ATX tower, or is it an ATX tower that comes in multiple colors? I do like that, and I will probably start building in those. Those look cool. I can't remember the exact model number off the top of my head. I know it's a bit late, but you mentioned the old Cooler Master cases. My current PC, with which I am getting ready to upgrade from, is in that Cooler Master Half X case. Don't ever sell that case or get rid of it. And And if you do, please let me know. I will take it. They're actually really hard to find, number one. And number two, they're still badass cases. And computer enthusiasts still look for that case. And you can't find them new anywhere, so they're becoming quite the collectible. So hold on to that. And if you don't want to hold on to it, make sure you get it to somebody who will. The really big full tower one. Yep. That was the badass case. Had all the 200mm fans in them and stuff. I think on the top, the side, and the front. Yeah, I know you prefer less RGB. Some people prefer that, but when you're talking about the majority, when I have somebody that comes to me and looking for a gaming PC, I'd say probably 10 out of 10 times, and it is just extremely rare. Okay, we'll say 9.99 out of 10 times they are asking for RGB, period. And it has to have RGB no matter what budget we're on, even if it means sacrificing performance. And I state that. Hey, sometimes, when we're on a tight budget, if we don't go with RGB, we could get a better graphics card. And they're like, nope, it has to have RGB. So, like, oh, okay. But when who you're selling to is demanding the RGB, then you're kind of forced to do it. I mean, you could always shut the RGB off, so it's not like you're stuck with it on. It's something you can shut off. So that's the mindset now, is have the RGB and the ability to shut it off. There you go. But if you are going for a completely blacked out build, you're not looking for a case with RGB in it. You're going for a blackout case, one without any fans in it, which there are several. Most manufacturers create with RGB fans and without fans, period. A cheaper version that's blacked out, so you can just choose your own fans, your own cooling, etc. Fantex, for example, has one. For this case, they have one with the fans and then one without. The one without is actually sold out. They don't make as many because this one is in more demand because it has the RGB. And that's just the world we live in today. So that's the reason why RGB is such a thing. They go where the money goes. Even if it isn't, 100% popular, the majority likes it. They follow the majority. And that's how every business should go. Because if you didn't, you'd be out of business. Is turning into not the cleanest white. That white went south very quickly. We're not going to use that pre-applied thermal paste. Whatever makes the customer happy, exactly. The flashier it is, the more appealing, definitely, for some people. Most people, actually. That's the thing. It's most people want the flashy, so. Gonna set this down here while we get the mount on the motherboard ready to go. We're just going to remove 2 of these screws at a time. and put the studs on. We're reusing the stock back plate. That's how most AM4, AM5 platforms are these days. They just reuse the back plate on the back of the motherboard. Here's another odd one. My PC has a GTX 1070 hybrid. Nice. The GPU with water cooler. Yep. Just got the water. It's basically an AIO slapped on the core of this GPU, and then two hoses coming off with a probably 240 millimeter or 120 millimeter radiator for the 1070, and one fan built in. I had to find a way to install two water cooler radiators because I got one for the CPU too. Yes, and that is exactly why I like these cases, because you can mount a 360 millimeter here at the top of the case, and a 360 millimeter on the front of the case, and a 120 millimeter on the back of the case. Sometimes I think this can even support 140 millimeters on the back. So 360, 280, 240, 120 on the front, 360, 280, 240, 120 on the top, and I think up to a 140 millimeter, 120 millimeter radiator on the back. So this case has all that support. It's modern to support those modern needs, whereas a lot of cases in half probably the Cooler Master half X, it probably didn't have HAF X. It probably didn't have a AIO or very good AIO options because that just wasn't a thing back then. When you did it, it was a super custom job. Right? So one in the front and one on the top. What does that mean? Sorry. And can you elaborate into that? I got swords. But you could, yeah, you could put a radiator in the front and the top of this case, and the back. I prefer, you know, especially if we don't have a radiator for the GPU, put the CPU radiator at the top so it's expelling the hot air that the CPU is producing directly out of the case instead of being recycled from the front through the case, exposing your components to the extra heat coming from the CPU. So instead, the only heat inside the case is coming from your motherboard, your RAM, your SSD, and your graphics card. Everything else is expelling itself out of the case. So it creates a better temperature on the inside of your case. A lot of older cases, you can only put a 360 millimeter on the front of the case. That forces you, unless you reverse everything, to send all the air from the CPU heat directly into the case. I don't like doing that. What is a single fan AIO? A single fan AIO is a 120 millimeter. Yes. 120 radiator. That is correct. Alright, so there we go. We got our brackets ready to go. The cooler's ready to be mounted to the CPU. We're going to slap some thermal paste on here. Thermal Grizzly, of course. With our X pattern. I probably put too much there at the end. Oh well, it'll be alright. Want to make sure I don't have any thermal paste on my fingers. There we go. lay it down there, and then we'll put our thumb screws on. Get those threaded. Gonna thread it down till it's just snug as a bug in a rug. And try to jab the motherboard with a screwdriver because it slipped off the stud. Then we'll go around and tighten them down. Make sure it's nice and snug. And then we'll get this RGB connection, which is going to go to the back, plug into the chain on the side of the fans, all part of the same chain. For this, we could either route out the side or up the top. And I'm going to route it towards the top because the AIO pump connection actually has to go over here anyway. Then we'll probably need a zip tie here, just clean it up a little bit. It'll also ensure that this AO pump connection doesn't pop up and get into the fan. Wouldn't want that. There we go. Done. We have the cooler mounted. What are the chances of a third build looking like? Well, we're at the 2-hour mark. Not looking good, sir. We probably should be closer to done on this one right about now. I might be able to finish this one up and then try to squeeze in a third. Maybe. No promises here. All right. So now we have motherboard connections to deal with. Then we can slap the graphics card in. Oh. While we're here, actually get this stuff plugged in. Okay. Get everything routed. Directions that we needed it. So USB 3, for example. Here. USB-C. Also up here. We have our front panel connection down here. Fantex is one of the few outside of Lian Li. I think NZXT is also following suit, but they put the front panel power connection onto a single block with the reset power LEDs and all that. It's a lot easier to plug in compared to having 6 different wires sitting here ready for you to figure out. There we go. Got all our front panel connections plugged in, nice and neat. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Moving on to the we could probably put the graphics card in. Hey Pop. What's up, man? Thanks for that follow. Appreciate you, sir. Popo. Maybe it's Popo Man Gaming. I think that's the actual name, not Pops. Sorry. I have a little itty bitty chat screen window. Even my readers don't help me read. The 4070 Ti. Hello? Camera didn't want to focus. I don't know how long it's been like that. Sorry. Your definition going to win for the part? LOL. What part? Risk it for the biscuit. Let's go. That sounded weird. Trust me, guys, that was a box, not me. The moment you've all been waiting for, the graphics card, the 4070 Ti Asus Tough Gaming Edition. Just completely wrapped plastic. Because Asus has to overkill it. My assumption is they started wrapping these cards because too many people sent them back with a little ding on it. Back in the day. Back when inventory was never a problem. Us GPU snobs would send these back when they had a ding in them. I mean, I appreciate the attention to quality here, but when you do, shove any of them. You hire somebody just to unwrap these things. Oh my gosh, look. So this never used to be a thing before. They didn't have little peels on their fans. You had to go in there and get it with your fingernails or a screwdriver or something. Now, they are actually giving you little peel tabs to peel the peel off the fan. Thank goodness. I know a couple people that would appreciate that. I think we noticed that on the 4090 for Judge Drudge as well. Although I had him peel that one off. I was focused on doing something else. Finally. It's naked. Nope. Just the size of that cooler is just beefy. Go ahead and get these brackets out. And we can slap this video card in there. Still can't get a 4090 at MSRP? No. And you probably won't till probably towards the end of its life. Meaning when the 5000 series comes out. I believe they are intentionally making less because the demand is less, obviously. So why bother making more? That's just going to keep the price driven up. Your closest chance to getting one at close to MSRP is going to be Micro Center. They will probably have the best prices when it comes to the graphics cards. They're pretty honorable with that. I'll give them that. I never bought an up-to-date party because I can never afford them. Neither do I, man. I'm still running. So before I was running, I had a GTX 1070. So, and then later I got a 3070 Ti. But the only reason why I have a 3070 Ti is because during the super tight, terrible shortage, 3070 Ti's were almost $2,000, right? So if you wanted a 3070 Ti that day, you had to pay like close to $2,000. So I had to buy a couple of them. And then I had a couple of builds fall through. So then I was stuck with a couple of 3070 Ti's for a while. And then I didn't have a 3070 Ti build for a while. And then the prices dropped on them. So I said, screw it. And I just wrote it off as a business expense and kept it. So I wasn't going to try to force somebody to buy it for the price I had it for. It was retarded. So that's how I ended up with it. It sucked, but it sucked having to eat that much money on a 3070 Ti. But again, I'm not going to force somebody to buy that. I'm an idiot. I need to go from here. I'm special. Nice. Yeah. It wasn't nice then, trust me. That wasn't my opinion in the moment. When I finally settled and I realized I was stuck with almost a $2,000 3070 Ti because I wanted to have a couple on hand ready for builds, because even though they were $2,000, people wanted them. That moment you realize that you're stuck with it, you're like, huh, I'm gonna just go eat some hot Cheetos and lay in my bed. Turn on Netflix and pretend the world doesn't exist. But whatever. It is what it is now. I was able to do something with it by writing it off as a business expense. It also helped the stream a little bit too, because I needed an upgrade. It's just, I was going to wait for cards to come down in price because they were just so ridiculous. Gotta win somewhere. So, to your point, I still don't have a 4000 series card, and I won't. I just don't need it. Not something I need. I might even jump on a 3090 if I see one at a decent enough price. 3090 or 3090 Ti. Although the 4070 Ti is a lot more efficient with about the same performance, so uses way less power, a hell of a lot cooler. So overall for the system, it is a better card, the 4070 Ti. Creating less heat, using less power. I mean, it's still drawing quite a bit of power, but it's doing more with less. In a way. You have your baby 2080 Super. Dude, that card's still a great card. I'd give you my 2080 Ti, but there's something weird going on with it. And I haven't decided if it was my power supply in my computer, or if it was the card. I have to take the time to like plug it in, test it. But I got that one for a absolute ridiculous deal back when the 3000 series launched. So a guy bought a 30, I think it was like a 3090 when they were first dropping, or 3080, and so then he listed his 2080 Ti for $500 or less than that even, and it was because he got the 3090 at MSRP when it first launched, and he was like, well, this is what it should be. I was like, are you sure you don't want more for it? And he's like, no. Back then, a 2080 Ti for $500, you know, the 2080 Ti used was going for $1,200, $1,300 on eBay, just as a price point marker. So getting it for that price was just ridiculous. Not even heard of. I drove over and picked it up. It was just a local guy selling it. It was for my own personal rig, so I'll buy used equipment for my personal rig. Not for any builds. Unless I absolutely have to. For the budget. And they're aware that, hey, we're using some used parts in the build. Make the budget happen. But, you know, it's just a matter of, landing the right deal at the right time. But yeah, if that 2080 Ti works, you can have it sitting over here doing absolutely nothing. I just gotta plug it in and test it. It'd be a little bit of an upgrade. Getting 240 frames in Call of Duty, 1440p. Oh, getting. Oh yeah. I don't even think you could get 240 frames with a 2080 Ti or a 3080. I think you'd have to go all the way up to like a, whose is it? Tuna's PC's got the 4090. He's running, you know, 200-ish at 1440p. You need a 4080? It's okay, I guess. So like I said earlier, I only have a 1070 right now. Oh yeah. Well, that's what I was using before. Noob Sauce. I was using a 1070. It was a TI, but wasn't that much better. But I mean, it was it's still a great card, especially for 1080p. Now, if you're trying to stream with it, that's where the 1070 is going to struggle. Oh, really? Maybe I built his different. It's just different. Sorry, Tuna. We did go with the MSI card for Burns versus the 4090. I think we went Asus Tough. So, but his is the OC. I don't know. He might be running at a higher resolution than Tuna, than what I know. I thought he was running 1440p, but he might be running 4K. Maybe he is. I just don't know that. For some reason, I'm thinking he's running 1440p. Okay. Enough chit-chat. Let's finish this build. All we got to do is slap this power supply in here, do a little bit of cable management, fire this bad boy up, see what it looks like. Excuse me. Tuna runs 4K. Like I said, I knew there was something going on there then. Yeah, Mern runs 1440p. I knew Mern runs 1440p. So, Tuna's build should be able to outperform Mern's only because it has the graphics, the 4090. And it's not going to outperform it by much unless you're running a higher resolution. That's the only way it's really going to outperform. So if they both run 1440p, they're probably going to get close to the same performance. Or 1080p, for example. It's all about that VRAM. Once you get into higher resolutions, it's about that VRAM. There's always something different about a Corsair ESU when you first open it. The new smell. Smells like paint, like a paint factory. You have to open enough to notice it, I guess. Weird like me. And then bring it up. I miss my Asus. I started to go out on me and I had to replace it. Now I have Gigabyte Auroras. I don't like it. I mean, there's a reason why you don't see Gigabyte on this channel. No offense, but I just don't like Gigabyte software. The hardware is okay. It's the software that drives me nuts. Because I'm building PCs for people. People, most of the time, have never owned a gaming PC before. And Gigabyte software is just confusing AF. I'm sorry. The hardware is actually really nice. And their price is actually very good. It's the software side that I just cannot build with. That's the only thing that's keeping me from building with them. And I still build with them every now and then. But that's why you don't see a lot of Gigabyte here. Usually, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So, Asus, for example, this Asus motherboard has the Asus Armory Crate. The Asus Armory Crate is so easy to use. It's simple. Same thing with MSI. MSI has the MSI Center. Easy to use. For anybody that's new to PCs, not going to be rocket science to them to stumble through it when I'm, usually I show them how to use it at least once. And then they'll call me if they have any questions or shoot me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions, but for the most part, I don't get a lot of questions with Asus and MSI boards. Because it's pretty self-explanatory. Right? So that's why. But Gigabyte in general is not a bad company. Their warranty service is good. Their hardware is actually really good. It all comes down to the problem is with their software. That's it. And they're trying. I noticed on a new Gigabyte motherboard I built with a couple weeks ago, they had started following suit when it came to having like the MSI Center or the Asus Armory Crate. They're trying. So when you first fire it up, it actually popped up and said, hey, do you want to download the Gigabyte whatever tool it is? I think it's the App Center. And then it downloads all the drivers for you, which I thought was cool, but it was buggy AF. So it didn't exactly work right off the bat. So Gigabyte is a good company. They've got good pricing on their hardware. And their hardware is actually pretty cool. It looks good, effective, and it also performs well too. Maybe my biggest complaint with their hardware is they could do a little bit better with their thermals on their graphics cards. Outside of that, overall, it's a great experience, except for the software. Why would we need 3 EPS connections? Is that new? I guess there are some boards that have it. Some super high-end boards. That's my opinion on Gigabyte. My only complaint is the software. So that's what I meant by, that's why you don't see it here on Gigabyte on my channel very much, is because it's simply the software that holds me back from building it for people. Not as simple to use as Asus or MSI. Other than that, I would totally build with them. But until they get their software straightened out, which they are trying, because that is the #1 complaint with Gigabyte. No Buildo with a Gigabyte though. No, don't get me wrong. I have Gigabyte motherboard there and there. That's it. I've got a couple of them. But they're B450s with an Ryzen 5 3600, and it's a $550 or $600 or so budget for a build. There are some of the few that still have boards out there that are B450s that are cheap to fit that budget. So, Gigabyte Aurorus, not a bad company. Not a bad brand. Just that software. Can't get over it. Can't use it. I gotta balance this power supply over here off the side of the table. I always forget the Fantex case has this panel thing. You see some of the new power supplies with the, especially, I think it's like Corsair did it first, doing it first. The connections on the side rather than in the back. I think that is the coolest damn thing ever. Just need a wide enough case to use it in. And guess what? This Fantex case would be wide enough. Modern. Asus is definitely probably the top brand. No doubt. In my opinion, and if I had to choose top brand sold, Asus with MSI like right behind them. Barely. I think MSI should be the top. But Asus definitely takes the win for simplicity when it comes to their software, and that's what most simple, easy to use software. That's what takes them to the top. Also more expensive, but because it's designed very well. Both the software and the hardware. And taming this damn power supply to fit in here was ridiculous. Cables, anyway. Alright, guys. Almost there. Where's my zip ties? Shit. Got this one that way. Going this way. More work to turn this boat around. Almost there. CPU. CPU. Home stretch! I ruined the chance of our third build. Yeah, the power supplies, cable management in general, will do that. A bigger build. Yes, sir. Bigger the build, the more cables there are. The more cables there are, the more cable management you have. The more cable management you have, the more time spent on the build. Because the math behind it. And I'm not going to rush through a build to meet my goal. Each build is built with quality. Okay. Okay. That's about as good as it's going to get. flip it around and take a look at the cables on the front side. Make sure everything's clean where we want them. That makes me happy to hear. Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, I'm gonna cut somebody off from a good quality build because I'm trying to rush through and prove to people I can build free instead of two. Not me, my style. I mean, for the most part, everything looks pretty clean. It stayed where everything was supposed to stay. Cables look good. I'd say we're ready to fire this bad boy up. What do you guys think? Go for a post number 2 tonight, huh? Will it post or have I met my match? Now remember, this is DDR5, so the training will take longer. You ready? Look at that, we already got a post because AMD's badass. And I know it's not the camera, it's actually my table. For some reason it is not squared. I gotta fix that. So it shows up kind of crooked on the picture. Pull it back just a little bit. Nice RGB LED strip down here at the bottom. We got a post. Nice. So our CPU fans checked in, our chassis fans checked in, our pumps checked in, and then our front fans and rear fan checked in. So all of that is checked in, being our chassis fans. These sticks of 16 gigabytes each checked in. So we got 32 DDR5 running at 4800 megahertz right now. I'm going to do a BIOS update before I enable the Expo and the Expo profile for the RAM. But we look like we're ready to just install Windows and get this thing rolling. Great job, Ben. Thanks, I Got Swords. Another one headed to a battle station to fight the battles. This 4070 Ti actually looks pretty cool. This was actually my first. Is it my first? No, it's not. My first OC tough, or my first tough gaming card, 4070 Ti. That's pretty PC, yes sir. Badass PC. I mean, especially for the price. By the way, you can actually get one of these off of my website. They're on my website for $2,670 right now, for a Ryzen 9 7900X, 32 gigs of DDR5, 6,000 megahertz, a ROG Strix E650EF motherboard, and an RTX 4070 Ti with a 2 terabyte Gen 4 M.2 and a 1,000-watt power supply with this case, this cooler, and the extra 140 millimeter fan. Is Windows free to install? It's free to install, but we actually have licenses that we will apply to it to make a licensed product, which is going to be tied to the motherboard since it's an OEM version. So this version of Windows installation for this PC has to be on this motherboard, or it won't be activated. So the activation is tied to the motherboard. So if you were to take the drive out of this PC and try to plug it into another PC, it wouldn't automatically activate Windows on that PC unless it has a key assigned to that motherboard. So yes, Windows is free to download and install, but it won't be activated until you purchase a product key and activate Windows. You can go to Microsoft's website and download their external media installation tool, or I think it's called installation media tool for Windows 11 or Windows 10. Create the installation media with a USB thumb drive using that software download that you downloaded from Microsoft, and it'll just automatically make it a bootable thumb drive, which is really easy. Nice that they've made that tool, because back in the day it was kind of a pain in the ass doing it. You had to use third-party tools to make it all happen. Then you have a bootable USB drive, you plug it in, nowadays all the newer hardware just automatically sees the USB drive, so it'll just boot from it. Sometimes you have to go in and tell it what device the USB drive to boot from in order to boot to that USB drive to install Windows. And then it'll just take it to the Windows setup, start the setup, and then go from there. And start doing your BIOS update, your drivers updates, all that jazz. Windows updates, depending on how old the version is that you started with. Is this the last build? I think I'm going to call it, because we're at 3 hours now. Well, 2 hours and 50 minutes. So we're just about at 3 hours. It's almost 9 o'clock over here. I'd rather finish these two builds up and get them packaged up, ready for pickup tomorrow. Or whenever they're going to come pick up. And do the other builds on the next stream. I'll probably have to do a stream probably Tuesday night. Or something like that. Hola! Hey, what's up, guys? I got swords over on YouTube. Adam over on YouTube. Is there a way to get the LED remote that changes the color of that fans on like a budget $363 build? Actually, on a $630 build, like that other build that I did the other day, that one has the RGB that's software controlled. So when you get the PC, you'll have the software that's already installed, and you will be able to change the lights from the software rather than a controller. That way you don't have to deal with a dead battery every 6 months on the remote. It's a lot better. Much more customizable when you can do it from the software rather than the remote. The remote's cool and it's easy to use, but the software is way more robust. It's actually not difficult to use once you play around with it and figure it out. It takes 5 minutes to do. Yeah. So, no remote, we'll have the software. Like this one here is all software controlled. Right now, we're not into Windows yet with the software installed, so we're not able to go in and change the lights until we get to that point. Right now, it's just running the base from the motherboard, which is the rainbow effects. So I'm just running through the Windows install right now, but I think that's it, guys. We got 2 builds out of tonight with 3 hours. This one being a little bit more robust of a build. I have a shit ton of builds, excuse my French, upcoming. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 11 builds in here right now, with more on the way. So there's no shortage of builds this week for streams, and I'm the majority of these people ask me to stream them, so I'm going to try to fit streams in throughout the week here. I wanted to do a stream yesterday and a stream today, but I had so much foot traffic in yesterday, in and out, it was just too distracting to have the stream up and then try to stream and then have people in and out all day. It was just not going to be possible. A couple guys brought their PC in for repairs, and they needed it for that night, so I had to turn that thing around. Okay, heading out, Ben. Great stream, man. I'll catch you next time. Catch you on the next one. I Got Sword. Sounds good. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out with us through the entire stream, man. Appreciate you. And thanks for moderating. But for the most part, I'm done, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you on the next stream. Like I said, probably going to be Tuesday night, maybe a Monday night stream. Just make sure you like and follow the streams or the channels so you get the notifications when we go live. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you guys.